Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, I'll be talking with Mihai, the CEO and founder of JOBFUL. But before we dive into the interview, where I ask him a bunch of questions about his background, how he came up with the idea for the startup, and much more, let's find out what JOBFUL is all about.
Recruitment fails both the employee's expectations and the employer's needs, as companies can't find the candidates with the right skills for the job, and those who do get hired half leave the company in just 18 months. Improve these numbers on both sides. At JOBFUL, we believe we can do recruiting better. We designed it to put both the recruiters' and the candidates' needs at the core of the process. We help companies close the gap between talent supply and demand within the company's career platform, using custom and gamified systems that maximize efficiency. For over 70% of professionals, changing jobs is one of the most stressful life events. Gamification turns job seeking into fun and lifts off the pressure to ensure better long-term compatibility. The recruiting process gets ineffective due to the number of CVs. Our Recommender AI finds the perfect match between the candidate's profile and the job requirements. We use machine learning to generate accurate matches in a matter of clicks. Plus, with JOBFUL courses, your company can offer learning materials to support candidates' development sustainability. JOBFUL, we fixed recruiting.
Now that you have an idea about the company, you can sit down and enjoy the interview. And by the way, this is a two-part video, so keep in mind that next week I'll release the second part. Hi Mihai, thank you for joining. I know that you're quite busy these days, so let's get straight into the topics. As a first part of this interview, let's talk about your background. Where did you study and what certification do you have so far?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I graduated computer science at Polytechnica University, then started another business master's, also at Polytechnica University. I did get certified for gamification, for leadership through different organizations. So this would be my educational background.
Cool coincidence, we both went to the same university. Now related to work experience, where did you work before starting JOBFUL?
So I started working during university. I worked as informatics teacher at a private school during my third and fourth year at university. Then right after the university, I started working at Neuroni, an IT outsourcing company, and I worked as project manager over there. A bit faster than 2 years, I resigned and started my own company, Playful. We started a gamification agency for HR processes. But a few months later, I also joined Microsoft and the enterprise team, worked as pre-sales for Office 365 for the productivity line of business. Also started learning about sales process and started learning about selling a SaaS. After maybe 1 year and a half, maybe even faster, I switched to SAP and started working in the enterprise sales team, selling SuccessFactors, the human capital management solution, for almost 2 years. And in between, I launched JOBFUL, and since April 2019, I'm only doing JOBFUL.
You work in a few big companies, but do you have previous experience with startups?
No, I think after my fourth year in university, I also joined Alternative University, and they had a program for startups or for entrepreneurs wanting to start a business. And over there, I was first a student, then I helped a professor deliver the product course, then I delivered myself the product course, and just staying between people who want to start a business gave me energy to start my own business. I think that's the only type of education that I've got before starting off with Playful and then JOBFUL.
What about the managerial experience from previous jobs? You were mentioning in another discussion we had about working close to board members from different companies.
Yeah, so I think in almost every professional experience, I've been working with board organizations. I think the closest I've got to people management before Playful and Joyful, it was actually as volunteer in BEST, Board of European Students of Technology, where I actually, after the first year, I joined their local board as responsible for sales. Then I joined the international team, and then I coordinated one of their biggest events, General Assembly. And during my fourth year at university, and I think then I had a team of 12 people working on a project. It was a different type of professional experience because money wasn't involved as it was volunteering. And we managed to pull together a great event for the entire best in Europe. So I think that's my closest experience to managing people, and with working with board members. I think I've been doing that with Microsoft and SAP before doing so at JOBFUL.
Okay, and now what do you think? What kind of skills from previous jobs help you the most in your position as a CEO and founder of the startup JOBFUL?
I think the ideal mix for me was the fact that I knew project management from my first job or second job in terms of IT outsourcing, and it was critical to manage resources. A second component is the fact that I was building digital platforms for different customers, so I knew what the effort behind the scenes is. Then in terms of Microsoft, it helped me with the sales process and working with corporate environment in order to sell your product. And with SAP, I think it was the cherry on top of the cake, because I was selling HR to HR management in Romania and Southeast Europe. So it was super relevant for me to understand what are the pains, what they're looking for, how they're looking to acquire new solutions, everything in terms of market and what they're missing maybe. And this mix of technical background, project management, selling a SaaS, and selling in HR, I think it was, every single one of them are building blocks to what we're delivering today.
Let's move on to the second topic, which is related to the beginning of the startup. How did you come up with this idea for the startup?
Well, I think to be fully transparent, I had a list of 20 ideas actually when I said I want to build my own company. Because for the previous 2 years, every single day or every single week, when an idea popped into my mind, I wrote it down and said, when I'll have time, this is one of the options. And there were some crazy ideas, like I wanted to build a game called Super Mario, and it is the opposite of Super Mario, and the princess is going back to save Mario actually. And it was one of the ideas. It was a list of 20 different ideas, but I was really connected with gamification. I started learning. I just got certified, understood the potential of using game techniques in order to deliver better business processes. It all made sense for me. It was at that point connecting the dots and just like scoring some ideas. This was the best and final on top of the list. That's why I started here. But as a mindset, I said, maybe this is not working, so I'll see which is the next one, and then which is the next one. So I didn't know for sure that this will take off. But now, today, I think it's more about resilience and about adapting to challenges in order to create a great business or a great startup, more than the idea itself. I think the idea it's usually shaped by the market in so many cases.
And what point in time do you consider as the start of the company?
I opened the company Playful Software on 29th of February 2016. In March, I started working on gamifying HR processes and building a team in order to deliver great projects to potential customers. But soon after, I joined Microsoft. So I think that was the very first move. But the next steps, the next 10 steps, I did in parallel with Microsoft and SAP and incremental growth, just knowing that next week will be a bit further than we were last week, and so on.
What would be interesting to know is with how many people did you start?
We were 4 at the very beginning, with my sister, Bianca, and Adrian. 4 people just wanting to gamify as many things as possible, and we did camps for alternative university. We did onboarding for companies like Vodafone. We even got to the point that we gamified a wedding. It was just spectacular for us to see how we can use game techniques and leaderboards and points and challenges and many other things in order to make an experience so much more appealing.
And who was doing what at the beginning?
At the very beginning, every single one of us was doing anything needed. I mean, it was the 4 of us that were working on gamifying itself. We were splitting the project management for different projects based on availability, bandwidth. I think we tried to cover everything in 4 people, and then we started growing the team.
This is how actually you learn by doing everything. Follow-up question is with how much money did you start?
Well, it was bootstrapped. I think at the very beginning, the only money that I had in the account was just to live for a couple of months. And we said, let's find the first customer, build on that, and then grow, and so on. But that's, I think, one of the reasons why Microsoft seemed appealing. Because at that point of time, I was negotiating with myself if I should join Microsoft and learn about sales and grow as a professional in order to support the growth of the startup, or if I should follow the dream. I didn't feel ready at that point of time to go all in, and I think it was one of the best decisions because I started learning new things from a different context, which helped me for everything that came next.
Additional question just to make it more clear. Did you start with your own funds or did you have investors at the beginning?
No, we started with our own funds. We actually piloted with 2 companies in Romania at some point with Microsoft and with Banca Transilvania. That's when we got a bit of money from the 2 pilots. At that moment, I went to my previous employer, the outsourcing company, and said, this is all the money that we have. What can we build the very first version with this? And they said yes. Started working on JOBFUL. That was the moment that we launched JOBFUL in May 2018. And based on that, we started maybe selling a bit more left and right to different customers, growing the company, growing the team. And the only investments that we had, I think it was friends and family.
When did you start renting a workspace?
Very late. I mean, we started the company in February 2016. We launched JOBFUL in May 2018, and we had our very first office in July 2019. So for the very first couple of years, we were working from coffee places when we were meeting, and hubs and different places where we could gather and work together, but we didn't have an office. And I mean, for the last 6 months, we didn't have an office. We do, it's where we're recording this, but we've been working remotely since March, and it's actually going quite well.
Okay, what is the most difficult part when you are starting your own company?
I think there's quite a lot of difficult stuff at the beginning of a startup. I mean, it really depends on the entrepreneur and maybe some blind spots. For me, for example, it was very difficult to fire the very first people that we had to fire. So the relationship with colleagues and ending collaborations, it was a difficult step for me. What other things? I'd say as a startup, you sometimes have, or you always have, supporters and people encouraging and people trying to help or contributing from this point of view, but you always have haters. And I think in the Romanian market, I think we do have, as part of our culture, the idea of first criticizing what could have been done better, and then understanding all the effort and everything that needed to be done to get to that point. And at least at the beginning, I used to take this very personally. Every single feedback on Facebook or on our website, I was writing back to the people offering that feedback and saying, look, this is a startup and we're looking at incremental growth and doing things better and better. It's important to solve the problem and the product will be better and so on. But soon realized that it's not worth it. I mean, the effort that you put in there to trying to convince someone who is, in many cases, don't really want to offer constructive feedback, just want to hate. I encourage everyone to look for feedback, and every single time where something is relevant to absorb and implement the best tactics in order to solve the challenges that maybe some people are raising. But if some people are simply throwing garbage because they can, maybe they should focus on proving them wrong.
And at that time, what were your responsibilities?
We had a session, I think, maybe after 1 year, where we decided let's put titles for every single role. And we started looking at sales roles, at marketing roles, wizards and everything, because we're a gamification company and it's kind of cool to have titles. And that was the point that I started, I added to my signature, instead of CEO, I added Chief Everything Officer, not executive. Because it's exactly how it felt. Every single time there was a new challenge or something new to be solved, and it could be product related, sales related, marketing related, collaborations, accelerators, investors. Every single time there was something new popping up, I was one of the people who needed to jump and get it solved as soon as possible. So it was a bit of everything, and once again, that's why I'm happy that I have a technical background and a business background, because I could link the two together. And especially in this tech startup world, I think it's important when you discuss with the customer to be able to articulate, at least as an overview, the technical side or deployment or different aspects that can make the life easier both for you and the customer.
What about your main focus at that time? What were you focused on?
The main focus at the start was selling. I don't believe in great ideas who have awesome products but never sell. I do believe the very first metric to ensure that you're delivering something that the market needs, it's selling. And that was my focus.
Tell me now, did you have doubts or were you confident about the idea from the very beginning?
It's a super good question. A few days ago, we had a feedback session with all the colleagues, one-on-ones with everyone. And I think that was one of the repetitive feedback that I've got for the last couple of years. The fact that as a person, I'm optimistic. When I look at something, I usually see the challenges or the problems, but I often see what it can become more than what it is today. And I think it really helped me, at least with the vision part, thinking this is where we want to go, or this is what we want to achieve, or this is the direction. And I think it was a great deal for me in terms of motivation. 2020, health crisis, the pipeline breaking down in the middle of seasonality in the spring. These are all good reasons to say, yeah, maybe I should quit this and start a job. But I never had that thought, at least in my head. I was always thinking, well, tough times create tough businesses or tough people. it will help us grow even faster, and we'll be able to achieve even greater things than we've done before. And most of the great technology startups actually started in the middle of a crisis in 2008 or 2010. And I mean, together with a crisis, there's an opportunity every single time, and we prefer to look at the opportunity side rather than the crisis and the dangerous environment we've been part of.
Being positive and optimistic is good, I guess. Back then, how did a normal day look for you?
Well, at the very beginning of the startup, I was actually working. I was employed at Microsoft, and I mean, I was waking up, going to work. I had a huge appetite for doing as much as possible and learning as much as possible. So I tried to deliver everything that I could, and then ending the day around 6, maybe a bit later, and started going home to continue working on the dreams and ideas that I had. And it was more or less the same with weekends. So I think it's a period of time that many could describe as workaholic, but I describe it as with full focus on professional side.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Until next time, read more and invest smart.